Hello everyone. Today I am going to be doing a scored review for the video game Alphadia Neo. Now this is your stereotypical turn-based RPG set in an older game style, more like the old Final Fantasy games. This was developed by X-Create and it was published by Kemco. Now, in this game, you take on the role of a youth who is discovered and woken up after being sealed in a mountain cave for X amount of years. I can't really say much because it'll interrupt with the story. And you go on a grand adventure and meet friends along the way and defeat an quote evil empire. So it's your standard good versus evil type of game. Now, I score a game off of five different categories. I go under story, graphics, music and sound effects, gameplay and control, and achievements. Now, this game's story, I have played the Alphadia Genesis games, but from what I understand, they're not a part of this universe directly. They're like a separate universe or something like that. It's very confusing, but looking at this from a standalone perspective, the story, honestly, I was disappointed with. There isn't much story progression at each stage in the game, nor is the actual story itself that long. And when you engage in the story, each section that you do is generally very short. But the story itself is a decent story. It's your typical cliche good versus evil, save the people kind of thing. So, it's a decent story for a turn-based RPG. The graphics, this is one that got me. The Genesis games looked really good, and I think this one came out after it. Now, the world map and the characters and like the silhouette pictures, the hand-drawn silhouette pictures, all look great, but let's go into battle. The enemies look okay, although distorted a little bit due to the pixelization. But your own team looks, I'm gonna be honest, they look atrocious. But outside of that, the graphics are good for a pixel style RPG. Now, for the music and sound effects, the sound effects are a little meh, but as with most of the games I've played by this company, the actual music in the game is very well done. It's catchy, and more often than not, it fits in with the type of thing that you're doing, like battle music, the boss music, being in a town, are all very well done. So the music's great, the sound effects are meh. The gameplay and controls, now this is one I've probably got the most to talk about here. The gameplay itself is very simple. You don't do a whole lot in this game. It's walk around, you talk to people, you enter combat, turn-based. Very simple. But the actual mechanics of the game is a different story. The magic, or the energy, makes a comeback from the games that I've played. You've got the different elementals, fire, water, earth, wind, light, dark, and also the combination spells. I always thought that was a neat trick, or a neat thing in these games. But they also incorporated something called aside from break skills, which I think is named something different in other X-Create games, but they also have these things called resonant arts or resonant skills, which is, if you play Chrono Trigger, requires more than one person ready to act in order to activate, and there's a good selection of them. And two of them, which makes absolutely no sense to me, can't be unlocked until after you beat the game. It's in a bonus dungeon, so that makes no sense. As you can see by looking at all here, it's not that hard to max out your characters, unlike other games that are like this. But the actual gameplay itself, walking around the world and stuff like that, simple, but when you're in a dungeon, the encounter rate is actually very low, and to level up is very fast and pretty easy. So you never feel like you're behind the curve, and they incorporated these things. Oh, let me look in the challenges. It was in one of them. It's some kind of, yeah, these things called anti-monster pillars, which show up in each dungeon, which you can activate to increase or decrease the amount of enemies that are in the area, which is neat. But the thing that really gets me is that you can force the pillar to call 3 rounds of monsters to attack you immediately. And you can do it as many times as you like. So not only can you affect how often the enemies attack you in dungeons, you can also grind at one of these things pretty easily, because 3 groups of enemies in a row and you get bonus EXP for it. Now, something in this game which takes a lot of the challenge out of the game is the shop in this game. As with the other ones, you got the premium in real life store for things. I will cover that in several ones because that's all DLC. But you also have the weapon armor forging, which you can spend the premium currency in the game that you earn to unlock unique weapons and armor, which you earn the premium currency from fights, quests, panel challenges, well, not quests, but special things that occur in the game. So you can always get the points. You can also get items that increase your EXP, gold, your ENP for your spell learning, drop rate, items for like reviving after death, special rings, which I have for my characters, assorted high-end items, treasure storehouse key, which covers 8 different storehouses throughout the game, and then a special key which is used for a post-game dungeon. They have a roulette wheel, which is neat. Every day you can roll and you get one of these items, and you can roll the roulette 3 times every day. Now, the one that gets me is the secret room, because this is the first one of the X-Create Chemico games I've played that have had this, which also further allows you to spend in-game currency, premium currency, to do things. But here's the one that gets you, the anti-monster pillar. You can boost how much EXP you get from it, how much ENP you get from it. You can fully unlock the pillar right on the outset. You can fully recover your EP at the end of the battle. There's like all kinds of things in this to make the game easier if you're willing to put the time into earning the premium currency. So there's a whole lot here that you get in the game for free without spending money outside of it to really bolster your team. So all in all, the gameplay and mechanics, the gameplay is simple, and there's a whole bunch of mechanics in the game that, you know, make it easily and manageable. But then there's also pluses to your equipment. Now, what I've got here is, this is a special weapon from one of the storehouses, and you can get an item that boosts it up by 20 points up to 4 times. This is one of the items from the forging thing, and any item can go up to plus 99. This was like the one thing in the game that always had me scratching my head, like, what was the point of this? You could have just kept it simple and not incorporated the bonus pluses at all and put something else into the game, and just made it where you had to rely on the base level tier of the weapons and armor to get through the game, like a more classic RPG. But I mean, it's there if you absolutely need the benefit from it. And then this brings us to the achievements. Now, the achievements in this game are fairly simple. It's walking around, open chest, excuse me, killing monsters, completing story segments, and then there's one for each level of the panel challenges. So, I mean, none of the achievements are really hard. Out of the 3 Chemco games I've finished, Alphadia Genesis 2 was the only one that had an achievement that I thought was even remotely difficult, which was beating the special boss. And yeah, that took me a few tries to get a set plan for that. But all in all, the achievements are fair, and none of them are overly complicated or challenging. Now, unlike the industry, I rate my games 5 out of 10 for average instead of the industry standard of 7 or 8. And this game, while I really enjoy turn-based RPGs, this is about as middle of the road as you can get. It doesn't do anything new or spectacular, I should say. It's very, like, plays it safe kind of RPG. The story's a little bit light, but the gameplay and the mechanics, there's a lot there for you to dig into if you want to. The equipment and stuff like that, there's a good selection. But yeah, all in all, you know, the story's okay. The graphics are okay. Well, the graphics are good aside from the character models in battle. The music and sound effects are, well, the music's great, sound effects are okay. The gameplay and controls have a lot of depth to them, surprisingly, considering how simple this game is. And the controls are very simple. And the achievements are fair, and you feel like you're progressing through them at a normal rate. So, all in all, as much as I like RPGs, I'm going to have to give this one a 5 out of 10. If you really want to play an RPG, it's worth a good run through. But there's better choices. If you're a diehard fan of RPGs and you're quickly exhausting your options, yeah, this is a definite pickup. I mean, the Chemco games aren't really that expensive, usually like 10 to 15 bucks. So, 5 out of 10, very average game. And with all things video game related, game logic, am I right? Catch y'all next time.